Hello lovely people, and welcome once again to another lovely rainy day here in the UAE. In fact, it's been raining since yesterday, and Charlie, it's not been easy. It's been very memorable. I would say memorable because it rains once in a while here in the UAE, but since yesterday it's been raining throughout, and I guess you are doing well wherever you find yourself at the moment. I don't know where you are. Basically, this is what we do here on this channel. We give you tips and guides as to how to go about your day-to-day activities here in the UAE, especially if you're an expatriate intending to come seek employment here. Like, seriously, for real, you know the things on the ground, basic things on the ground that will make life here easier and simple for you. What I would like us to talk about today has something to do with contract terms and conditions when you intend to come here and work for others, like work under private sectors. You understand? These are basic stuff that you should know, especially now that there's been introduction of new laws in the UAE. These are things that you should have at your fingertips and then know them very well before you venture into any kind of contract with an employer here in the UAE. Now, these things that I am going to talk about are actually found on the portal, the Ministry of Interior portal of the UAE. So you can go check them out on yourself, and then you know what to do and then how to go about things. These are actually laws that came into effect in 2022 from February till infinity and beyond. They are actually subject to change, which is a decision to be taken by the authorities of the UAE. Now, before coming here, or even if you are already in the UAE, I would like to get you equipped or endowed with these things before you come here into the country. According to the Federal Decree Law number 33 of 2021 on the regulation of labor relations in the private sector, the UAE Labour Law, which came into effect as of 2nd February 2022, a worker can be hired on a fixed-term employment contract for up to 3 years. The term may be extended or renewed for a similar or shorter duration. If the contract is not renewed or extended upon its expiry, and the parties continue to perform the obligations of the contract is then considered renewed under the same terms and conditions as those of the original contract. Even though this is self-explanatory, I would like to elaborate a little bit for you, just so that you can get a better understanding of what is really on the grounds here. Now, if you are working for an individual, if you are working for an employer, and then your contract ends, and then he or she does not renew the contract for you, yet you're still in the company working, it is considered as being renewed. Therefore, you are supposed to be paid gratuity as in accordance with the number of days you've worked in the company for the boss. You understand? So that is that for that one. Any extension or renewal of the terms of the employment contract will be added when calculating an employee's end of service benefits. The law also stipulates that unlimited employment contracts are to be converted into fixed-term employment contracts. In accordance with this decree, within 1 year of the effective date of the existing contract, and may be extended by the cabinet for further periods as required in public interest. Meanwhile, the provision of this decree law shall also apply to unlimited employment contracts entered into in accordance with the Federal Law number 8 of 1980. I guess you might be asking what this fixed term contract is and why it is in effect now. Maybe you might not know what was really on the ground. Initially, there were about 3 types of contracts that were here in the country. That is unlimited and then limited term contracts. And I think part-time was also included, but that was not that effective. Now, knowing about these things, you would also ask, what are the laws that are, that govern probation here in the country? The probation period of the employee must not exceed 6 months or be extended for another term. When the employee completes the probation period and continues in service, the probation period will be calculated as part of his service. For probation periods, which is the trial periods of employees by employers, the maximum number of months you are supposed to serve in probation is 6 months. Anything beyond 6 months means you are working for the company already, which is supposed to be calculated among the number of days or months you've worked for the employer. If in case your employer wants to terminate your contract, as in terminate his relation with you during the probation period, he is supposed to notify you 14 days prior to the time he wants you to quit before that happens. So this is the law, and you should know what is really entailed. If an employee wants to change the job while on probation to join another employer in the UAE, he has to give the employer a written notice of minimum 1 month. If you're working for someone here in the country and then you decide to also quit and then find yourself another job, or in case during the probation period you find yourself another job, you are supposed to notify your current employer, which is your current boss, that you would like to quit for another job. This time around, this law is very strict on people who usually tell guys to switch jobs. You understand? This law makes you, or gives strict measures on being truthful with your boss. You tell him maybe you have things to do or you have another job to do, so therefore you'd like to move to that new job or quit. In this case, the new employer has to compensate the current employer for the employee's recruitment costs unless it is otherwise agreed between the current employer and the employee. Yeah. And if in case you would like to leave the old company, or you'd like to leave your current company to join a new company, besides you notifying your current employer about your quitting the company, your new employer will still have to compensate your old employer as to your recruitment, cost. Maybe he was the one who brought you into the country, or he was the one who paid for your visa, or maybe he had also wasted some amount of money on you for residency and stuff like that. Your new employer is supposed to compensate the old employer before you are able to move from the old company or your current company into the new one. Otherwise, this compensation can be bypassed. Like, in case you are able to solve this amicably with your current boss, tell him that maybe you have a new job, you would love to move, and then settle it with him on a very cool notice, like on a very good terms. You understand? With that one, the current employer would not demand any form of compensation from your new employer. However, if an employee resigns from his employment during the probation period with the intention to leave the job and the UAE, he must provide prior written notice of 14 days. If you intend to leave the country and then the job at the same time, you are supposed to notify your boss 14 days prior to your leaving the country. You understand? So that he can get prepared and then get your whatever it is, be it gratuities, be it payments, or whatever terms and conditions he or she would have to go with you. They get it done before you leave the country. Should a resigning employee return to the UAE within 3 months of his departure on a new work permit, the new employer will be liable to compensate the previous employer for the employee's recruitment costs unless otherwise agreed between the current employer and the employee. Yeah, because you were once employed in that company, you had to cancel, leave the country, which means you made a U-turn on him. You were trying to play smart on him and then made a U-turn whilst you got into your country and then came back with a new employment. That you would have to compensate your old employer before you are allowed any form of residency here in the country. This is said by the Ministry of Interior, not by me. We move to the non-compete restrictions. The non-compete restrictions. Article 10 of the UAE Labour Law permits employers to include non-compete restrictions in the employment contracts. Now, this law actually has to deal with an employee leaving an employer. Now, we are all on a market, or we are all in a market. So in case I am selling this piece of pipe on the market and I employ you to come work for me, after your contract, after your term of working or serving with me, you are not supposed to come into the same market and sell the same products that I was selling right from the onset. Like, you come into the market and then compete with me on pipes. It is not allowed until after 2 years of your resignation, be it your resignation or your contract, should I say, exhaustion. After your contract is exhausted or during your cancellation, you cannot compete with me on the same market, and it is by law enforced and it's supposed to be adhered to. The maximum restrictive period is for 2 years from the date of the expiry of the employment contract. Types of work arrangements. The Labour Law admits 4 models of work arrangements as follows. Number 1, full-time. Under this system, an employee works for one employer only on a full-time basis. That is for the full-time type of work arrangement. You work for only one employer. You understand? Yeah. Part-time. Under such contract, an employee works for one or more employers for a specific number of hours or days. Temporary work. Under this system, an employee works on a specific assignment and the contract ends upon the completion of the assignment. You understand? Yeah. And the next and the last but not the least is the flexible working. That is the flexible working. Under this system, working hours or days may change depending on the business needs of the employer. Understand? So that is it for what is really on the ground pertaining contract deals here in the UAE, like especially when you intend to come work in a private sector or work for a private company. You understand? These are things that you should know. These are basic things that you should know before coming into the UAE and then, you know, trying to get yourself a job here in the country, to avoid being scammed or to avoid being in wrong hands. Let me put it that way, because lots of people come here into the country on tourist visas or whatever visit or whatever entry visas they come here with, and then end up exhausting their stay here in the country, yet not getting any kind of job, and have to overstay and either go on visa change, spend extra money on visa change and other stuff. You understand? So get this, bear this in mind before you make the move or try to move to the UAE to seek for employment. Thank you so much for spending much time. Thank you so much for watching me till this far. I think I've done just to this video, and I guess this helps you in so many ways or diverse ways. My name is Kofi Techi. If this is your first time on this channel, kindly do well to hit on that subscribe button. Share links, share my videos for others to also get the kind of information you're getting from here. And then do give me a thumb up if this video deserves it. Let me put it that way. Yeah, it will be by force. But if you think this video deserves a thumb up, just give me a thumb up and then keep sharing the link. You understand? Until we meet again, just stay safe, stay out of trouble, and be good. See you on the next one.